Mm-hmm. And I'm going to come back to that, but I want to stay on the issue of Liberia's role in the liberation of the continent just a little bit more. I know we were involved in the formation of the OAU, the Senegal Conference, etc. Mm-hmm. And then there was a time there when a lot of the exiles from South Africa, so to speak, came to Liberia and lived there.
Sure.
And I heard, as a young man growing up in Liberia, I also heard that President Tubman played a very significant role in the furtherance of the objectives of the ANC, ANC in South Africa. Can you give us some more details on that if you are aware?
Surely. Yes, Liberia was always interested in the unfolding process of decolonization in Africa, in all of the areas that were still under colonial rule, including Southern Africa that you are apparently specifically interested in. And I can say that Mr. Nelson Mandela, that name rings a bell all around, I believe, visited Liberia and met with President Tubman and the officials of the Liberian Foreign Ministry. And, you know, the whole purpose was seeking support, moral and material support. And he got both. I mean, the moral support and the material support, meaning money to facilitate his travels after he, you know, got out of South Africa in a clandestine fashion. He had to because of the apartheid regime that was pursuing the liberation strugglers at that point in time. Subsequently, a number of individuals from various groups, you know, there were various groups. There was not only the African National Congress, the ANC that you mentioned, but then there was the Pan-Africanist Congress, PAC, I think it was called.
Oliver
Tambo was with the ANC.
Okay.
But there were groups that were more radical, I might say, than the ANC. I mean, there were groups that did not want to be accommodating, and meaning did not want necessarily a peaceful resolution. They felt that if there was need for armed struggle, then one should engage in armed struggle. But a lot of these individuals came to Liberia, and some resided. There was a fellow called Vus Make, who lived in Liberia and taught at the University of Liberia for several years. So these individuals were in and out of the country as the need arose for them to do so. Sam Nujoma, who became the vice president of an independent Namibia, he was in and out of the country.
Really?
Oh yes, on a regular basis, in and out of the country. And the Liberian government officials were in contact with all of these people at the various international forums, that whether it was called the United Nations or the Non-Aligned Countries Movement or the Organization of African Unity or the subgroup that was called the Liberation Committee of the Organization of African Unity, one was constantly in contact with these people, and they were feeding Liberian officials with detailed information about the progress that the struggle was making at that point in time.
And the reason for my question is that within the last 2 decades or so, I am not so certain if the current generation is really aware of the significant role that Liberia played in the liberation of Africa. And I don't know what's the reason for that. I don't know if it's miscommunication or just our failure to impress upon the generation that came just before us or even during our time about that role.
Yeah, but something happened in Liberia you have to keep in mind that probably explains this, and that's something that happened. There was a kind of discontinuity as a result of the coup and then the civil war that followed. So that whole period of 1980 to 1989, and then 1989 and the 14 years of civil war was a period of tremendous upheaval, as you can imagine, as you know.
Oh yes,
and I think it affected the normal process of educating Liberians about what's happening to their country, and I think that explains in part why the generation that came after knows very little about this.